All right, guys, we are live on Talking Preps. I'm gonna hit the theme music so we can get started. If I can find the theme music, I can never ever find the theme music. Here we go. All right, we're back with another episode of Talking Preps. I got my man Dale Ross in the house. Dale, you survived all that hot sauce you were slurping last week?
Oh yeah, you want some more? I just had a bunch.
Dale was taking shots of hot sauce last week because he made a prediction on the game wrong. He was eating actual crow, real life grilled crow. Got my man Gary Richmond, and then City Councilman, former State Senator Malcolm Graham in the building. How you doing, Malcolm?
I am doing great. I'm so glad to be here tonight.
Well, I'm glad you came on, man. Gary had an idea to bring you on. Hey, look, Gary, we got Chapel Hill saying what's up.
Oh, Michelle Cofield. Hey, Michelle.
Tell Davan, brother Cofield, we said hello.
Davan.
What'd you say, Gary?
Yeah, he was my roommate.
Was that right? Yeah. Davan's good people, man. He can play golf. I heard he can play golf. I never played with him before, though. So how you doing, Malcolm?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Thank you for the invitation to be here, Gary and Langston. When Gary called, I said yes immediately. I've done a lot of talk show, but this is my first sports one. And as both of you guys know, I'm a sports guy, daughter that played basketball. I competed against Gary as a parent for 4 years. Saw you in the barbershop and talk sports and trying to convince Sarge that you weren't a bad guy, and enjoy watching your son hit that jump shot in the ACC tournament this year. So I'm just glad to be here with the guys talking sports.
Lauren Lynn Bailey wants to know a description of what this is about. We're talking about high school sports. We're about to talk to City Councilman Malcolm Graham about West Charlotte, and it kind of leads me to my first question, Malcolm. There's a brand new school going up in West Charlotte. How's that going to affect the demographics of the Beatty-Ford Road area?
Well, the Beatty-Ford Road corridor is changing significantly from Johnson C. Smith University all the way to West Charlotte High School. The demographics are changing a little bit to reflect that, but most of it is growth and development. In proximity to West Charlotte High School, it's a 300,000 square foot new building. 3 stories, state-of-the-art teaching facilities in terms of classroom, auditorium. They will have a new indoor pool, football stadium. The Panthers already laid the field for them, but the school system is building the stadiums and all the accoutrements for a football stadium to enclose the field. And more importantly, it'll have a brand new gym and 4 new tennis courts. So the school is going to be in par with all of the other facilities in terms of athletic facilities in the conference, in terms of the education component, in terms of the technology, the classroom facilities, etc. It'll be one of the best facilities in Mecklenburg County. The demographics on the corridor is changing, as you know, in terms of economic development, new facilities coming to the corridor. Chase Bank is coming to Beatty-Ford Road in the corner of Beatty-Ford Road and LaSalle Street, 2 developments right across the street from one another in the proximity of West Charlotte. There's 3 property that's changing hands already within the last year and a half, right for economic development. The city's investing in Cure Violence, which is a violence prevention program to help with wraparound service within the West Charlotte community and corridor in Beatty-Ford Road. So a lot's happening. The new school will certainly be a diamond on the corridor for student engagement in the classroom, and finally giving the athletes at West Charlotte, who's won numerous state championships in men and women's basketball, football, the opportunity to compete in state-of-the-art facilities.
Malcolm, West Charlotte sits in the middle of the historic University Park neighborhood. In fact, my parents, well, my father's side of the family grew up there. My grandparents lived in the University Park neighborhood. And most of the homes there are occupied by senior citizens. Is the opening of a brand new high school going to force older citizens to move out? Are they going to be priced out of their neighborhood by new development?
Certainly, that's a very good question, Gary. And my goal and objectives is to make sure that the citizens who have traditionally lived there, who clearly understand the tradition and the legacy of Beatty-Ford Road Corridor, have an opportunity to stay there, in terms of they should be a part of the change and not victims of it. And so there are a number of programs that the city has in terms of aging in place programs, which is tax reduction. Last night at the city council meeting, we talked about the 2040 plan that talks about putting a displacement commission together to work with fragile and threatened communities that are facing gentrification. A committee where we can talk about how do we provide resources for those individuals so that they can actually stay in their communities. And so it's a mixed bag, Gary. When you go and invest in a community, and many of the residents up and down the corridor has been calling for investment on that corridor that has been historically underutilized, underfunded. The city over the last year and a half is putting our money where our mouth is, with a $24.8 million corridor for opportunity program, focusing specifically on Beatty-Ford Road. When you do that, new individuals come into the community. And so again, we want to make sure that we have programs and policies in place where citizens are a part of the change and not victims of it.
Yes. In the 1970s and 80s, West Charlotte was the role model, the successful role model for court-ordered school integrations. Many prominent white Charlotteans sent their kids voluntarily to West Charlotte. And they even did a story on the successful integration of West Charlotte High School on 60 Minutes in the 1980s. Then about the mid-90s, West Charlotte started to change. And today it's a predominantly low-income minority school. What caused that? And will the new building change the demographics of the school again to what it used to be?
Well, I think the demographic change in the district is going to be reflective in the school population itself, right? Students generally go to schools within their proximity. If you take a look at what's happening on the corridor in terms of students who are attending elementary school along the corridor, as well as a middle school, you can see a demographic shift in terms of the diversity of the students. You can see a demographic shift in terms of the diversity of those individuals moving into that zip code. 28216, which is a part of the Beatty-Ford Road Corridor, has more homes sold in the last 3 years than any other zip codes in the city. And so the demographics is going to shift. A brand new high school will certainly be a lure for individuals who are want to come to the corridor to live. A brand new high school will be appealing. Again, as you know, like I did when Nicole was young, we moved into the University City area because we wanted her to be a part of the educational village. Remember that, where they're supposed to go Vance and Martin Elementary School, etc. So I think you'll see families moving to the corridor because they want to live in close proximity to uptown, can't afford uptown prices, but they can afford to live on the edge city. And now they have a feeder system leading into a new West Charlotte High School. And as I said before, it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility, both in terms of the classroom as well as the athletic facilities.
Okay, I want to set up my question with a statement, and you certainly can address the statement, but I want to provide some context. 201 Oregon Street, that's where I grew up. The community is known as Lakeview or Lakewood. I attended Lakeview Elementary School for 2 years, Hoskins for 2, back to Lakeview, 2 years at Spall, 1 year at Wilson, 3 years at West Meck. I'm a West Side guy. After high school, I played in a city league of basketball, and I played out of Beatties Ford YMCA, actually. So I have a lot of concern about the West Side. And to Gary's point about the integration thing, which actually started in the late 60s, Gary, with West Charlotte. My uncle was a teacher there, foreign languages. And he actually had some comments about the situation there that I think are kind of relevant. And that's that during the day, the kids obviously learned a lot about integration, hopefully, and took away the white students more so maybe to have acceptance of black students, and maybe some learning abilities, et cetera, and help happened during the day. But as he put it, he said at the end of the day, they got on the bus and the white kids went back to their neighborhoods and the black kids to theirs. And a lot gets lost there in that community part. So you address some of this, and the question is, so with the opening of the new school, is the city looking to do anything? Gary made a great point about keeping the older established people there. I think that's highly important that we find ways to have affordable living, better living conditions and affordable so that those people can stay. Businesses can come in so that those families can have places local to go to work, and hopefully ways to, we rebuild a school, but I think that it's highly important that we rebuild a community, because students learn through their community as much or more than they do at school. The community, the family unit, it all is a major part. So our question is, do you think that this is going to help? And you mentioned about the bank coming and some other properties that have changed and hopefully will bring things in. So I don't know if you're repeating yourself, but if you could address that would be great.
No, that's a very good question, and it's not. I'm not repeating myself. I'm just kind of stating, and you kind of answer your own question. We are building a community from the ground up. One, in terms of making sure that it's a safe community, addressing public safety concerns up and down the corridor with our violence prevention programs, providing wraparound service for those individuals in the community who need it, i.e. mental health counseling, substance abuse, working with Mecklenburg County to address homelessness up and down Beatties Ford Road. We're working with the city to ensure that, again, that individuals who want to remain in the community don't get forced out. So there are a number of city programs that we're offering through our community development program to citizens who are elderly, who need tax relief, who need help in terms of home repairs, and a number of other programs, down payment assistance for those who want to buy into the community. So we're trying to be forward thinking in terms of making sure that, again, citizens are a part of the change and not victims of it. And then lastly, of course, is people want to be able to have the type of facilities in terms of restaurants and business opportunities where they can shop and stay within their own communities. And the icing on the cake, obviously, is an educational facility that has top-notch teachers and principals and teaching the right higher academic courses, which attracts the students. And of course, again, the facilities. This is a sports show, so I want to talk about the athletic facilities, right? I think that's really important, because not only is it important for the student athletes who go to the school, but it's important for the community. People will be utilizing the tennis courts. Citizens will be utilizing the swimming pool. So it's a community center more than just a school, but certainly the pride that West Charlotte has had for decades, and the tradition and the heritage certainly deserve a facility that match that legacy of identifying and educating students of the African American community, as well as students with the broader community as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that response. Recently, you were interviewed about the trolley coming to Beatties Ford Road, and we'd like to hear what you think that impact might be concerning West Charlotte High School.
Well, again, the trolley should be up and running by the August. It starts from Uptown Charlotte to French Street in the Johnson C. Smith University corridor. It's going to be a game changer. I believe it's going to have the same type of economic impact. The trolley has, not trolley, but transit has some South Boulevard in terms of revitalizing the corridor itself, right? If you remember how South End Boulevard was, you can shoot a cannon down South End. They introduced transit to that community to help spur economic development. I believe it's going to do the same thing for the Johnson C. Smith 5-point corridor. So we've already funded that. It should be up and operational by August of this year. And then now we're working on phase 2, which would bring it from French Street all the way to LaSalle and Batesford Road in close proximity to West Charlotte High School. And so right now we have to identify the funding for it. But certainly that is on the drawing board for the extension. But it's going to be a game changer for the lower end of the corridor for Johnson C. Smith University. We're doing a number of other things in addition to the streetcar in reference to the Pocket Park and there, the Mechanics and Farmers Bank, in reference to the underpass near the I-77 bridge. All will be are due for an upgrade and grand opening actually in August. So it's going to be a game changer.
All right, Malcolm, before we let you get out of here, I got to ask you about this man below me, Sam Grinder. He's the football coach at West Charlotte High School. And he's been rumored for a lot of jobs around here, as Gary talks about every week on our little text message thing. Why should Sam Grinder stay at West Charlotte long term and build something there?
Oh, man, I mean, the heritage, the history, the tradition. You can win a state championship at West Charlotte. The kids, they perform well academically in the classroom. The community supports that school. I can't wait until the first game where the new stadium is open and stands are in the stadium. It's going to be a tremendous environment. So not only are you going to get the support of the students and their family, you're going to get the support of the entire community, because Johnson C. Smith University anchors one end of the corridor, West Charlotte anchors the other end. And so you got the full momentum of all of that community behind you. And I'm your city council member, so I'll be at the game too. So, you might have to pick me in. I can still run a route. So, I'm willing to help.
We're going to put your hand in the dirt if you come out there.
Well, look, Malcolm, man, I appreciate you coming on, and that was wonderful information for everybody to hear about what's going on over there. And let's get the trolley going over there. Sounds good.
I'm not going nowhere. I promise you. Me and my principal even talk. I promise.
I'll be at the first football game this fall.
All right, Malcolm. Take care of yourself, man.
Take care.
Thanks, Malcolm.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's Malcolm Graham, the city councilman, former state senator. We're going to bring in my man, Larry Kennedy.
The legend.
The legend,
Larry Kennedy.
The legend, Larry Kennedy.
What's going on, fellas?
I'm good, man. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, man, on this highway, man, up here in D.C.
Okay. What hand you gonna put that fourth ring on?
Hey, man, look, I don't know, man. I might just have to set it up on the mantle. I got so many rings now. It feels good. 4 in a row, SEC championship rings. Man, I got all kind of rings now.
That's
all right. Well, we wanted to talk to you. I'm let the guys talk a little bit about Catholic and the whole your opinions on what people say about Catholic. You know what they say, and let you guys have a little bit of a conversation. So I'm gonna get out of here. Let me and Sam get out.
First and foremost, hey, good seeing you on my show. With all the guys here, we have a great time every week, and I've known you for many years, and to see the success that you are having professionally and on the field and coaching and everything else, it just makes me feel good. So appreciate you getting on here with us.
Oh, no problem, man. Appreciate being on the show. Appreciate you guys having me. Looking forward to chatting a little bit tonight.
Well, I want to just ask the first question, and I'll pass it off to Coach Grice and to Alex. But 4 championships in a row, and I'll just say this: before you showed up, Catholic was still doing its thing and had won numerous championships before you showed up. But man, you've been there 4 years, and you guys have won 4 straight. Just give me an idea of maybe and I know you didn't invent the wheel there because Coach Odo did that a long time ago, but what do you feel like you've contributed? I think the secondary play has been phenomenal. I've certainly seen a lot of technical improvement within your secondary and seen a lot that you brought to it. But just kind of tell us all what you feel like you've helped contribute to that and just your little piece of the small puzzle that they call that Big Red Machine.
Well, I love the Big Red Machine, man. It's been a great experience. Of course, we have a great group of coaches over there. I've enjoyed coaching with these guys. They make my job easy. The cut-ups, game day, film sessions, the stuff they send me, the preparation, they make it easy for me just to go out and coach. And that's what I love about Coach Brado, which more than anything, he said, hey, I'm not bringing you over here necessarily to work Riddell. I'm bringing you over here to be a football coach. And he know my day job, so anytime something happens with a helmet, I jump right in. But at the same time, he said, man, I'm bringing you over here to be a specialist, to make this team better. And he said, I'm not going to try to control you. I'm going to let you be you. And that's the biggest thing he did that I love more than anything. He let me coach ball. And he let me be me, and everybody know I got a strong personality, very aggressive. And how I coach the kids is very aggressive. I coach them on a very high level, and they respond to my coaching. And whether that's offense, defense, pep talk, special teams, all phases of the game, I contribute. So for these kids to respond the way they respond, it's brought me joy, because I really haven't had to really dumb down my coaching ability at all. I've elevated my coaching ability, and my coaching pedigree comes through, and it shows on Friday night.
That's great to hear, Coach. Coach, we know about, you in 91 and, winning the SEC championship, under Steve Spurrier, so we know you've, been able to play at that level of excellence. Could you compare maybe the excellence that you experienced at Florida with what you're experiencing as a coach now with that Big Red Machine winning 4 in a row?
Well, it's funny. I won 91, 93, and 94 at Florida. And now, everybody talks about winning a state championship in high school. During my high school era, I lost my state championship back in '89 to Pensacola Pine Forest, who was #1 in the country. We were #2 at Sarasota Riverview. But I tell you, being a part of a state championship team is something different. And then when you start talking about 4 in a row, you start talking about winning 1 is a big deal. Winning 2 going back-to-back is an even bigger deal. Then you start talking about the three-peat and some of the great teams with the three-peat. Is just, hey, it's something special in its own right. And now when you start talking about, hey man, a 4-peat, that's a dynasty. And I think that's what we've been able to do, build a dynasty over there. And the program is awesome. And the kids respond. We have the best fans in Charlotte. And of course, man, the coaching staff, I can't say enough about.
Coach Kennedy. Now, of course, we all know that amidst the wonderful success and tradition of the Big Red Machine, that however substantiated or not, that there is an undercurrent about how that Big Red Machine is built and proliferated. Might I ask you, to what degree do you think that those who are critical of, maybe not critical, but at least question how that Big Red Machine was built and how it sustains its high level of excellence perennially, to what degree do you think that's due to observers being hung up on highlight reel plays and overlooking that at the beginning and end of the day, the Charlotte Catholic is committed to fundamental excellence in the simplest things of blocking and tackling, which puts them in a position to be successful? Do you think that people are hung up on, well, this team doesn't make highlight reel plays that will get on SportsCenter or something? Do you think that makes people overlook the integral reality of how well the Big Red Machine does simple fundamentals of blocking and tackling?
Well, it's funny. I'm gonna be real. I travel around the state. I travel around the country, working in the football industry and the sports industry. But to hear the things sometimes throughout the city, throughout the state about the Big Red Machine is kind of comical, because I've seen all the great programs. I've seen all the great athletes. I've coached and been a part of many of the great athletes that's come through the Charlotte region. And let me tell you something. Every time I hear somebody say something about recruiting at Charlotte Catholic, now I have more access probably to more kids than anybody in the state of North Carolina. I can't tell you last time I could say I ever recruited a kid to come to Charlotte Catholic. But I will say this, the funny thing about that is, if I'm recruiting or we're recruiting like they always say, I'm doing a terrible job. I'm the worst recruiter in football. Because let me tell you something, and this is no knock against my kids at Charlotte Catholic. No knock, because they're the hardest working, fundamental sound. They respond to coaching. They're very astute athletes, meaning they can play and do whatever I teach them on that field in any split second. Anytime I need to make an adjustment, they're smart football players and more talented than what people give them credit for. But with that being said, if I'm recruiting athletes, then I'm doing a bad job recruiting because I have no 2, 3, 4, or 5-star athletes on this team. I've never coached a 5-star athlete. Matter of fact, I've never coached a black defensive back yet at Charlotte Catholic. I've had one for the first time that came late this year. So if there's anything about recruiting or any of that sort, then show me, because I've had a few people come to our practice and they said, "This is Charlotte Catholic?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I thought I was going to see all these 4- and 5-star athletes running around." No, what you see is a lot of guys that grind. What you see is a lot of guys that believe in the program. What you see is great coaching. What you see is hard work when nobody else is watching. What you see is the work that's done in the classroom, the work that's done in the weight room, in the film sessions. You see us putting our blood, sweat, and tears into these kids. We pouring into these kids. And when we line up on Friday night, it's excellence. It's football excellence. And that's what we preach, and that's what we teach, and it shows through our kids. So everybody assumes we have all these great talent, all these great athletes. But on Saturday, man, look, there's a lot more schools that's not winning state championships that's signing a lot more athletes than what we're signing to the Power Fives. Now, we may have kids that go to Davidson. Our kids may go to Elon. We get a lot of Ivy League offers, and we do get some D1 offers. I mean, we had Malik McGowan go to Chapel Hill last year, of course. So we've had our share of guys that go play college ball at the Power Five. But that's not our program at all as a whole. Our program believes in hard work and excellence, and the football excellence, of course, having a high football IQ and a great coaching staff.
Excellent response, Coach. I love it when you start preaching. I do agree with you, by the way. But Larry, you mentioned you've traveled all over the country. I feel like I've traveled a lot of places, and you and I just have linked up a lot over the course of both of our careers. San Antonio at Army games, up in the Northeast with your Diamond Sports Group, just a lot of different places we've worked together. And I know that you know football as much or better than anyone that I've met in my life. And I also feel like you're as in tune to the youth camps, the youth levels of football, a lot of the training that we see. And I'll lay that out because I want to ask you this question. You know, we've seen over the past 20, 25 years the steady but very sharp rise in the excellence within the Charlotte region in football. Not just the Catholics are dominating, but we've seen the Weddington start to get big, and Union County explode, and Cabarrus County get big, and really just as a whole, football getting exceptionally good all around the region. And I wanted to ask you your thoughts. You know, I've kind of laid out the fact that you've got a lot of retired football players that live here that have put forth a lot of camps and personal training of players, but you see football from a different perspective and a different elevation every day than even what I see. So I wanted to kind of get your perspective of why we've seen this amazing growth here in Charlotte.
Well, I'll say this, you know, I won't toot my own horn too much about this, but I feel like I play a big part in what happened to the youth football and the growth of Charlotte football. I brought spring football training to Charlotte. Nobody was doing it when I first moved here. And of course, Charlotte Catholic was where I practiced at in South Meck. So I was allowed to do a lot of spring football training with the kids. I took the youth kids out there, just development training. No tackle, none of that stuff, just training. Teach them how to run, teach them how to catch, throw, just the basic fundamentals of football. And that way, by the time we got to the fall, where I may not get a lot of time to spend on them with the fundamentals, we could just go play football. And now, there was guys here doing some things before. Curtis Leak had a great league. I can think of some leagues that was here that was doing some great things. I mean, I was a part of the original. When I got here, I was a part of South Park. And then, of course, I transitioned into the NCYFL and eventually started my own league here, the CMYFL. So I was able to do a lot of great things. Then, of course, my own organization with the Ballantyne Gators, which became one of the great powerhouse youth programs in the city. All you got to do is look at the names and the faces and the people that's come across my team. But the biggest thing is I haven't always prided myself on just football with my organization, with the kids I deal with. I pride myself on the total athlete. So I teach them life. I don't just teach them ball. I teach them life, and then we grow into it. So when you leave my program, you're ready for whatever high school coach you're going to play for. So I don't care if you're going to Catholic, Providence Day, Mallet Creek, Vance, Huff. You leave my program, you can play for anybody. So it shows, you look at all the schools throughout this city, there's Ballantyne somewhere or Larry Kennedy somewhere a part of that program or touch one or two of the kids.
I can't argue with that, Coach, because my kids came through the Ballantyne Gators program. So I can't argue with anything you say.
Well, I mean, I've had them all. So, so I pride myself on the youth programs. I mean, you look at some of the programs I brought here from the camp series. I brought many of the national camp series that you see now going on in the city. Man, I brought that stuff here 15 years ago. Whether I get credit for it or not, I don't care about the credit. I'm not an attaboy guy. I don't need a pat on the back. But I've been brought that stuff here. So, I mean, all the stuff you see that's transitioning that people trying to take credit for, man, it's been stuff we've been doing. It's just now.
You sound like Little Richard. I was the originator.
Hey, look, I'm trying to be modest here a little bit, but I did bring a lot of things to the city that you see now. But again, it's the kids that benefit, it's the city that benefits, and that's all that matters to me.
Absolutely. But Larry, man, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you're out of town handling your business, but let's definitely talk when you get back in town because you owe me something. And you know what you owe me. You know what you owe me.
Nice moonroof.
Hey, thank you. Hey, I'm rolling. I'm rolling in DC right now. What can I say?
All right, when you get back, you call me because you owe me.
4, baby. 4,
right,
baby.
Take care, my man.
Hey, y'all have a good one.
All right, that's my man Larry Kennedy, Coach. We go way back. All right, I'm bringing in your man.
What up, Coach?
Yes, Morrow.
Yes, sir.
Chance, you have one job tonight.
To beat Grinders.
To beat Grinders. You got one job. Beat Grinders.
The only way that happens is they told him the answers.
He has a winning streak going that I just don't understand, and it's got to stop because I'm tired of it.
They literally last week tried to change the rules up on me. I'm like, no, that ain't happening.
I'm tired of it. But look, you blowing up nationally with these offers. Tell us about who else offered you and when did it all start and how have you taken it? Kind of going from unknown to really, really, really on the radar.
Actually, I just been humble. Kind of. I just been humble. Like, it all came in like the end of April. So April 28th. That's when I got my first offer from Oklahoma. So then after that day, like a couple days later, it was Ohio State. Then the same day, it was Notre Dame. Then I'm going to say a few days later, it was Louisville.
Coach, who's made one of the biggest impacts to you talking to you in the recruiting world right now?
Brewer. Gunner.
Yeah. He's the guy. He's the GOAT.
The guy.
Yeah, he's been on with us before. He's a good friend of the show. Gunner's good people. So you're a junior. I know you play basketball. You play for Jeff McGinnis' team, Charlotte team. Are you going to just start focusing on just football now? Are you still going to do basketball next season? Am I getting the coach mad at me in West Charlotte?
I'm still going to play basketball like during school. I'm still going to do school ball. Yeah, I'm still going to do school
ball. But tell them what season's first right now. Just be like,
football
look,
season is
that's
first.
right.
Yeah, but when you start getting recruited to that level, you don't even come back to school after Christmas, right? You just go off to college. Is that something you're going to think about doing?
Nah, I think I'm going to finish out because for the basketball team, we have a goal this year, and I feel like we can reach that goal.
Okay. All right.
Awesome.
I like it.
All right. Well, we took a look at your film earlier. I'm going to drop that, and you can let Coach go and brag you a little bit. So you can check that out. Here we go. All right, Coach Joyner. Tonight, Chance Morrow's coming on the game show to take you on. I think you know this guy pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, in the game show, he has no chance, but on the field, I wouldn't want to guard this guy. That's for sure.
What is it about him that makes him special?
Well, you can't teach 6'6". That's one of the greatest. Like that right there. He's catching the ball over somebody. I mean, the guy makes plays. He even blocks really hard. I think on this play, he's probably showing like a block on the edge over here. He does all the little things you're supposed to do greatly. See if he bangs his. I think he gets a big block right here. He pancaked the cat right there. But he does all the things. There's a game. He's unguardable. Mm-hmm. Okay, the ball's thrown well. He's unguardable. He's picking up huge offers: Ohio State, Notre Dame, Louisville, and Oklahoma. And more will come in.
He's become one of the hottest recruits in North Carolina, if not the Carolinas.
No doubt. And he makes plays. I mean, there'd be triple guarding him, and like that catch right there, that's unbelievable. And most people that are tall, they don't have the great ability of jumping or have ball skills in the air. Mm-hmm. It's the opposite for him. He's better than like smaller guys. He can high point the ball. He can jump, but he runs comebacks. I've seen him make a one-handed catch on the sideline before on a comeback that I thought the ball was thrown away, and he still makes the play.
Right. It looks like a high school version of Harold Carmichael going back in the day.
Yes.
Well, tonight he's coming to take you on. You've got a little win streak going. Is that going to continue?
Oh, 100%. Especially this guy. I know him like I can read him like a book. There's no way I'm losing to him.
All right. We'll see tonight at 8:00 on the game on the game show. We'll see 8:00 tonight on Talking Preps. All right.
Read you like a book.
He knows what it is. He knows what it is.
All right, so you heard
that smile he got only can get him so far.
I asked him about that today when we was lifting it. I was like, "Read me like a book, really?"
It's called a little bit of guerrilla warfare, man. Just gotta let you know, make you feel like you're at a disadvantage.
All right, so you understand the rules, obviously. So we're gonna let me make sure I'm on the right question. I got a bunch of stuff on my screen. Wait a minute. You know what? I didn't put the questions in. Hold on a minute.
So here, this is where it gets a little tricky now.
No. I just gotta find my questions. I didn't put the questions in. But Sam, tell us about this kid, the strength of this kid on the field on Friday. What he's gonna do for you guys?
He's going just even off the field. I'm so proud of him. I mean, he's really grinding in the weight room. You would think, as tall as he is, he's not strong. He's actually really strong for his length, and he's actually over 200 pounds. I didn't believe it, but
you don't like he weigh 200 pounds.
He's over 200 pounds, 202. You know what I'm saying?
You some weights in your socks.
No, 202. I mean, he's a big dude. He's got big shoulders. Telling you, man, he's going to be special. And if we throw a good ball to him, he's unguardable.
All right.
I guard him.
All right. We're going to start out with Kenzie. Kenzie, let's hit it.
Which song by the Bangles was the Hot 100 #1 song in 1986? A, Internal Flame. B, Walk Like an Egyptian. C, Maniac Monday. Or D, Be With You. These were #1 songs.
Yeah, they were.
I've never heard of it.
Wow.
All right, so Chance, you're the away team, so you gotta give us a guess.
I say A.
All right, Coach, what you got?
I'm gonna say B.
How does he do this, Dale?
I have B too.
Somebody's whispering in his ear.
Come on, man.
Because you sit there and look at it for a while, and then you get it right. That's really disturbing. Okay, Dale, 1-0 Sam.
You're right, Gary. 4 quarters.
I don't know this one either, but the #1 rap song is in the country right now is Rap Star. Who sings it? A, Polo G. B, Masked Wolf. C, DJ Khaled. D, Lil TJ.
Sam.
Chance knows this one, and I do not. Shoot.
And you're going first.
I know.
Did you just put money in my? Did you just put money in my swear jar, Sam?
Say what? No,
Did you just put money in my swear jar?
No, I don't swear. I said,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're straight.
All right, Sam. What's your answer?
Let me think. This is important. I'm gonna go A.
What you got, Chance?
A.
Sam, somebody's telling Sam these answers.
Ain't nobody telling me that.
While you're stalling, your daughter in the background tell you these answers.
They try to get me, Gary. They're going legend. Let's go.
I don't. There was no way you're gonna get that one right. No way.
It was a pure guess.
No.
Damn.
I had to read. Look, I read his mind. I could see what he was looking at. I could see what he was looking at on the screen.
All right, Dale. Here we go.
All right. Only two of these three organizations and one, Phenom and Big Shots, are known for putting on high-level elite summer basketball tournaments in North Carolina. Which one does not belong? So, A, you don't have that list up there, Langston.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have the list. Yeah, which one of those three does not belong, Chance?
And one.
Sam, what do you say?
It's and one.
All right. With 2, 2, and 1.
Hey, no, it's 3, 1. Or
3, 2. 3, 2. It's 3,
3, 2. Yeah, 3, 2. He's got 2 right. I've gotten 3 right. Come on now.
I'm gonna catch back up.
You see how they short you, Morone?
We've only asked 3 questions, so that can't be the list.
I got all 3 of them right.
Kenzie.
Who's the only pitcher to save 3 consecutive Major League Baseball All-Star games? A. Doc Gooden. B. Babe Ruth. C. Dennis Eckersley. D. Roger Clemens.
That was good on the Eckersley.
It was good.
He put a pronunciation guide.
She had a cheat sheet. Who's first? Chance, you're up.
No, it's me, I think.
Oh, Sam's up. Okay.
You know what?
You need a time limit. You seriously need a time limit.
Why don't I need a time? Can I not think of that?
Because somebody's in the back like, Daddy, the answer such and such.
You can't change the rules. Okay. It's A, Doc Gooden.
All right, what you got, Chance?
B.
The answer's C.
Another Oakland A's guy.
I finally got Sam stumped, but I needed you to come through. Chance, you got to win this one. The last question. Dale. Whoops, wrong one. That's for later. Dale.
Okay. What is Nicki Minaj's favorite color? A, pink. B, blue. C, purple. D, black. Got to come through, man. Got to come through.
What you got?
A.
What you got, Coach?
I like A too, pink.
Sam does this intentionally. Like when he gets to lead, he just gives the same answer. So they can't get it wrong.
He wasn't guessing any other.
He wasn't guessing anything other than what you guessed.
Is A correct? Is A correct?
It's correct.
Huh?
It's
All right.
correct.
I was gonna guess A if he guessed something else.
No, you just frustrate me, so Sam.
You wear pink in almost everything. Don't hate. Look, I told you what. Look, I told you what was going to happen in the game, so I was going to win.
You frustrate me so, Sam. You frustrate me so. But Chance, man, thanks for coming on. We definitely got to have you back, man. You're loads of fun. You got a lot of great schools coming after you. Any idea when you're going to start taking visits, even try to formulate a short list?
June 1st.
June 1st.
All right. We'll definitely follow your career. We'll definitely have you back in the fall, all right?
Okay.
All right.
Keep working. Keep working. You look good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. Take care, sir.
That's a good-looking wide receiver.
Sam, I like that young man.
He's a good-looking fella, man. He's gonna have a bright future. I'm telling you. He got good game, got good personality. A lot of people like to have his capabilities. Like they're hard to talk to sometimes. He is fun to talk to. He's the life of the party, so to speak. He's a great guy. I like him a lot.
No, he's got a great personality. Sam, you got a fan again. Karen is on your side. I just don't understand it. We got to have Chris take you on or something. I don't know. We got somebody.
You got to know. Number two, that rap question. You know, I don't listen to rap music.
That's why I picked it.
I know, and I knew you did that. I was like, man, they really are trying to stump me here.
And your daughter was in the back who listens to rap music and told you to answer.
I ain't listen to that stuff. She listen to same music I listen to.
When she's around you.
That's right.
Learn that about your children.
That's true. Good point.
All right, we got the guru on the screen, so you know it's time to go to the corner and hear about the state championship games, and here we go.
All right, guys. Well, it's going to be a little bit of a short corner because we're not going to throw out the Sweet 16s. We want to save them for a week, but we will talk about this, kind of wrap up these state championship games, guys. I feel like I got most of them right in my predictions. I was kind of a little bit off on about two of them, but, you know, those were kind of some tough ones. But let's look right there. Grice, I know we talked a lot about that Salisbury-St. Paul's game. Hornets did what I kind of thought they'd do, took care of business 42-14. Also in the 2A, Reidsville 35-6 over Mountain Heritage. Not really a surprise there. Tarboro went up there and, you know, avenged last year's loss to East Surrey 25-7. Probably the best game I saw all weekend, though. I was there in Carter Finley Stadium for this, was the Murphy versus Northside game. Coach David Gentry at Murphy said that they were much, much better than we thought on film, and they really made Murphy do some things they didn't want to do. Granted, Murphy still won the game, but Grice, I'll start with you. Just some reactions to these games here.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, with a lot of these games, I mean, you look at some of the blue bloods of their individual classifications. I mean, you know, Salisbury, I felt would have that experience to be able to be successful in this game. I was a little shocked at how big they won, but again, you know, we talked about Jalen Walker, had him on the show. He makes a big difference with that, you know, with that defense. And I mean, it's no surprise there that they did well. Reidsville, as we thought they were, to steal Denny Green's quote. I mean, you know, they've been the class of 2A for a long, long time. Mountain Heritage, I mean, it's good for them to get there, but that was going to be a tough task. You know, East Surrey, you know, after that big win last year, I mean, you wondered how this game would go this year, but I mean, Tarboro proved to be too tough. And kudos to Murphy. I mean, you know, kind of doing my imitation, you know, guru Chris Hughes work. You know, I've been following Pinetown Northside as far as their scores each week. They, you know, against, you know, a lot of teams in the playoffs, they had, you know, did a great job on offense. They seemed like a tough team from what I saw. Seeing this final let me know that, you know, kind of some of the things I saw kind of lined up with that, but a great win for Murphy. So not too many surprises here, but, you know, good to see.
Coach Crider, what you think?
I'm just so proud of Salisbury, home of the Cat U, baby, Catawba in that area, man. They dominating, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, that's 2 state championship games in a row. Won this one big.
That's big time. And then, you know, out of all the games, like you said, I watched a little bit of the Murphy and Northside game, and I just like that old throwback type of game where defense punt the ball. You got to play field position. I love that type of game, and I thought that Murphy did a great job of overcoming what Northside was doing to try to make their lives a little tough.
Yes, agree. And I think we're going to get a graphic. We'll look here at the other championship games here momentarily. Hopefully we'll get this up for the 4A, 4AA, and the 3A games. I was able to see some of these games because of just the split, being able to Chapel Hill and NC State being really close together. And there we go right there. We'll start up top, 4AA game. That was the big game. Sat right there with Langston and Alex Bass watching this one. Incredible ball game. I know the 35-14 don't make it sound like it's a good game, but anyone who was there, especially through the first half, saw that, and I'm about to sneeze, guys, so if you hear me talking funny, I'm trying to see if it's going to come out or not. But anyway, that was a 20-14 game at the half, and kudos to Rollsville. I think given Byron Brown playing on one leg essentially with the injured hip coming into that game, you could see that he was visibly hobbled. He made some incredible throws, but he was just a little bit off his game. And Vance had a lot to do with that as well. That Vance defense was living in the round backfield. But Vance was able to overcome about 25 penalties and really extend the lead late in the game to win big. Any thoughts on that one, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, the penalty situation, I think, to quote the great Gary Richmond, I mean, it felt very Miami in the 90s-esque with that many penalties. But again, it's the same thing I think, Coach Griner and I have been saying. Like, I have yet to see the team outside of that team up there in Cornelius to really be able to hang with this Vance team for 4 quarters. And again, it's what you saw. I mean, for a first half, it's a situation where I think Rolesville proved tough, and I thought they came out pretty well and was I was definitely impressed with Coach Samick and their preparation, but it was one of those things. It's just tough to play for 4 quarters. I talked about even in my lead-in of the sensational sophomores, if you'd have told me that Noah Rogers would have had a bigger impact on the game than Dalen Smothers, I might have thought the score would have been a lot closer. And to see that and then see this score, I think that speaks, to the testament of how great and how deep Vance truly is. To see Asani Allen with 2 big touchdowns, Armand Wright, a freshman, doing his best, Kevin Concepcion, 1 year later, breakthrough game there with that big touchdown to start the game off. Again, that kid is a freshman. He started JV, playing middle school ball not too long ago. He made one of the biggest catches and one of the biggest impacts in that football game.
Like 50 yards.
Yeah, that was huge. It was like a 50-yard play there. So, that's the thing. Everyone talks about, a lot of the superstars that Vance has. I think one of the bigger things, and Coach Fairby alluded to it in his conversation, I think, with Langston early in the year, he had, that freshman and sophomore group that he has is dang good and really should be starting a good start for any team in the state. And I think we're seeing that in the biggest moments, which I think is something that's pretty cool to see, is these young kids, these 14, 15-year-old kids are stepping up in these big-time games, not in the week 1, week 2 games, but these big-time games are really announcing themselves on the scene. So definitely a name to look for as we go forward in the future with Armand right there.
No doubt. I mean, watching this game, I wasn't surprised about the score. I thought it could be worse than this, to be honest with you, because I know how good Vance is, and I thought Roseville was beat up a little bit, and like the quarterback situation. But don't count out the quarterback for Vance got hurt in this game. He hurt his – he's playing in that Queen City Bowl. His fingers, jacked up a little bit. Like, it looked like his, got split open on the front end on his throwing hand. But he's still as tough as nails. Hadn't missed a practice in the Queen City Bowl. I mean, the dude's 220 pounds. You don't know how thick that quarterback is. He is
pretty big,
man. And think about it. You got Vance, who, how most teams that like a West Charlotte, we're going to have to feed Chance to be able to score on certain people. We're going to have to really push the limits and highlight him, kind of like Roseville highlighted their wide receiver. See, Vance has waves of people, 3 running backs, 4 wide receivers. You see them in special team play. Oh, let's not talk about the defense that can make plays on their own. So it's very tough to overcome that. It's not very. They should be in a class of themselves. It's not fair for everybody. It's like you said, Huff was the only team that was able to overcome them because they were very talented too, and they probably would have won any state championship game they were in.
Yeah. Just to kind of put a bow on the 4AA game, I do expect both of these teams to probably be in the mix to be there again in the fall.
Yeah.
Both of them are very sophomore heavy. I believe Rolesville has 43 underclassmen on the team. Most of their key contributors are coming back. So nothing tells me that these 2 teams won't be in the mix again. Let's quickly look down the list. Grimsley 28-8 winners over Cardinal Gibbons. That was the one game I got wrong. I kind of thought it might have been the other way around, but kudos to Coach Darrell Brown and Grimsley. Mount Tabor 24-16 over Cleveland. I think that Mount Tabor was probably maybe a little bit better in terms of just an 8-point spread, but kudos to Cleveland for playing their tails off and coming back. We're down big early, but Mount Tabor is an incredibly special team. They're going 4A. They're full of a bunch of young guys, and they're the big one at the bottom, Catholic and Havelock. Kamaro Edmonds got hurt, or he was hurt some of the game and was very ineffective during a lot of the game. Havelock stuck with him in the end and kept giving him the ball. I wonder if it really – I wonder how much it benefited because he was just not getting yards, and you could just tell that he was injured, and it was almost like 11 on 10, but they kept giving him the ball. But congrats to Havelock to Catholic on that one, and just I'll let you 2 finish it off.
Well, I'll go a little bit on Catholic real quick if you don't. I just think that, like we said it going into it, they're okay with playing these tight games. 14-7, they're used to that. Havelock's used to scoring 35, 40 points a game on a consistent basis. So the kids on the sideline, when it's a a game that's like very difficult, going back and forth, field position, punt. They panic. And all of a sudden, Catholic, this is where their comfort zone. They just play very comfortably, and then they play the four corners, Gary says, and they're dominant. They're great at that. We're okay winning 10-7. We're okay winning 14-7. That's real Iron Man football type stuff that I love, and that's what stood out to me out of the rest of those games. Grimsley, though, let's just talk about like how good Charlotte teams really are, because Butler was one play away really from beating Grimsley, and like handled Cardinal Giddens as well. So it's just Grimsley overcame a lot. We got to give them a little bit more credit because Butler wasn't an easy task to win, and they were down early in that game and they came back. So pretty big.
As we talked about, Alonzo Barnett, that's one of the best quarterbacks, back home in that triad area. He continued to show, through some of these big time games who he was. And at times where Grimsley needed him, he showed, his mettle there. I was a little surprised at how dominant Grimsley was. I mean, we knew about Travis Shaw, that entire defense we saw against Butler really stifled that running attack that really hadn't been stifled all year. To see the magnitude of that score being 28-8, and really, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, it really wasn't that close. I mean, I don't know if it really was in doubt for a majority of that football game, but that was a good one. And going to touching on Catholic and Havelock, that's tough. I mean, it's a what if, but I mean, you can't give what ifs. But Kamara Evans being hurt in that game, you really saw that they really threw off Havelock and what they were trying to do. I talked about being you and really getting that sophomore quarterback active and getting the ball down the field. Too many times I'm hearing Chris Hughes' voice when it's 3rd and 12. So many times in that game, and Catholic's just ready to feast and get that punt return team on because Havelock, is going to punt that ball. So too many times we saw it go in the traditional cadence that Catholic is used to, and that is kind of what ended up there. But you hate the kid was hurt, but kudos to Catholic for doing what they do.
No kidding. And just one quick point before I throw it to your segment here, but that was a huge statement by the 336 area code. Mount Tabor, dominant win. Reedsville as well as Grimsley game. So big weekend for the Greensboro Triad area teams. Grice, so it's time to start up your segment. The Grice is right. All right, well, what's on the agenda tonight, Grice?
Yeah, so this I guess came out of an interesting conversation that I think we all had. Too many times in presenting, talking with the fans, people see a coach arrive on the head coaching scene oftentimes kind of too late from where we know as kind of guys in the inside the industry of who the great coaches that are next up. So I think this kind of developed, with no game this week. That's kind of what we determined our Grice is right assistant coaches on the verge are for this year. So I'll start, it's no order. And again, this list is not all encompassing. There are other great assistant coaches out there that are doing a fantastic job. But I think these are some names that are going to be, guys that Langston Wirtz is going to be writing about real soon getting jobs. The first guy I think is a no-brainer for a lot, but I'll mention it. Anthony Hackett, the Vance defensive coordinator. What an on-the-job, example to show between him being out of the Ardrey Kell game and kind of the scare that Vance received and the remainder of the playoff progression as we saw Vance steamroll their way to a back-to-back state title. This guy's energy is infectious. He is a guy that demands the best out of his players and does so in a way that they're willing to run through a brick wall for him. So for me, he's that guy that's next on the verge. I would be very shocked to see if he's not a head coach this year or next year, because he's a guy that any program would absolutely want to have. I'll for each one, I'll turn it to you guys to give your comments.
Well, Grice, I got to see Coach Hackett up close and personal as I stood on the sidelines during the playoffs a couple of times. And one thing that struck me about Coach Hackett was the fact when his kids came off the field, not only those 11 defensive players, but their backups and offensive backups gravitated to him. And you had like 40 to 50 set of eyes on him. All eyes on him, whether they were in the game, whether they were on his side of the ball or not. Those kids really gravitate to Coach Hackett. He's really going to be a good one. He's intense. He holds those kids accountable. but at the same time, he's very encouraging, and the intensity shows itself when those kids take the field. They really play hard for Coach Hackett.
Yeah, and I had a good conversation with Coach Hackett as well before the game, and I agree with everything said of him. He's certainly a rising star in the coaching circles and in the assistant coaching circles. And like you guys, I totally think that he should and will become a head coach probably sooner than later. We'll kind of see what other jobs pop open and whether he's here in CMS or Charlotte or he moves elsewhere. But we'll certainly wish him luck. Just to throw some other names out there, obviously I see Trip Stone at Butler. Worked with him. You know, he worked alongside DJ McFadden, who was announced today got the job at Indy, so we can mark McFadden off the list, but he was certainly deserved. Brad Van Horn is at Indy. Sean Fitzgerald, I know you're big on him. Grice, incredible guy. Devin Ratliff, I've known him for years. And Rydell Cowan, don't know him quite as well, but these are all some good guys. Alex, I think you've got a guy that you'd add on the list as well.
Without a doubt, the leading candidate, the leading assistant who is ready for a head coaching position in the Greater Triangle area right now is Cardinal Gibbons defensive coordinator Nick Drew. What he has accomplished in 4 years at Cardinal Gibbons is absolutely astounding. Most notably, back-to-back playoff years, obviously the 2 state finals, his defenses, which were integral to defeating Richmond in this year's second round, and Scotland in the 2019 regional final. The Cardinal Gibbons defense shut out Scotland County in the second half of the 2019 Eastern Regional Final and held Richmond scoreless for 2 quarters in the 2021 second round this year. If you look at the progression of what his teams have done in terms of having an equal number of games holding opponents under 10 points and almost half as many games this year as they did in the 2019 season, and the same number of interceptions this year in half as many games as the 2019 season, the progression of already very good defenses to even better and great defenses over that 2-year span of back-to-back state finals appearances is absolutely astounding and impressive. Ready to be a head coach, Cardinal Gibbons defensive coordinator Nick Drew. He's up in the triangle.
That is awesome, Alex. Thank you for that. You know, I'll kind of go down the list and, definitely want to make sure you give guys their due. I mean, we talk Trip Stone. I mean, we know, coaching's been in his blood for a long time. The rise in that Butler defense this year can directly be attributed to him. He's a guy that I think, any high school would want on their sideline leading their program. I feel like he's up next. Number 3 there, Brad Van Horn. He was the former Indy offensive coordinator. To me, one of the more imaginative guys, comes out of that Newton-Conover area that's produced a lot of the coaches that, we know from around here. Chris could give you that lineage even better than I, but he's very great offensive mind, great personable with the kids. I think he's a guy you'll see in the next couple of years that steps into that head coaching role. I've mentioned Sean Fitzgerald. He's a guy with a spread and triple option background. I think that's very good depending on the type of program he could take over. Again, with Lake Norman knowing that they were starting in an underdog role, I thought they did something. Again, if you're going to do something as a program, you want to be different. If you're not at one of the blue blood programs in this area, they've done that and actually brought themselves at the footsteps of the elite. So, he's a guy that I definitely think that, should be a guy there. And then as Coach alluded to there, Devin Ratliff and Rydell Cowan, I mean, 2 guys that have been at South Iredale for a decade, plus. Both guys I've met and love their football mind. I think they're great pillars of the community and they would do well to be anybody's head coach. Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, yeah, one question I've got I want to ask, and anybody on here can answer it, and it kind of came from some text messages that we were talking about earlier today. I know you are supportive and like the idea of younger head coaches taking over as opposed to guys who maybe have been around. I'm not against young head coaches, and I'm not against older head coaches, but I'd like to ask your question is what you think it is that how do you know when a guy is ready to become a head coach? Because I've often said, to be a good assistant coach, to be a good coordinator, you need to know X's and O's. You need to be able to coach kids and teach what you know to kids. But I think it's a completely different skill set to be a head coach. You got to be able to lead men because there's a lot of different personalities within that locker room. Some of them that may be considerably older than you and have a lot more experience than you and know more than you. And you often say, you know, some young guy comes up to me all the time asking if they can be a head coach. I ask them, do you know how to do laundry? Do you know how to mow the fields, paint the fields, deal with eligibility, deal with the media? There's a lot that goes into it that sometimes them younger guys don't have. And I just wanted to pose that to you, Grace.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And that's kind of funny. We talk about the young and old. As an offensive coordinator, I'm 34, be 35 in a couple weeks here. All of my position coaches are older than me. So that's always an interesting dynamic. But kind of going back to your question, the part where I knew my head coach had full confidence in me was on Thursday nights as the JV offensive coordinator. He gave us the keys and said, put the jerseys in the wash, get everything else together, sweep up, and you guys can lock up, and I'll see you in the morning, or I'll see you, on Friday afternoon. So, I think it's those things of just having control around the facility, being able to do some of those, kind of like you said, background things, because, you can have the X's and O's, but can you manage people? And people is a very very broad term. Can you manage the people that are playing the game, the kids? Can you manage the coaches on your staff and ensure that, one, you're pouring into their development as well as ensuring that, you all are working together to achieve the desired result? We talk about, managing people. Again, we talk about AD and principal. We talk about ensuring that they're all on board, understanding the goal and moving towards a positive progression in the classroom as well as on the field. So I think it's a comprehensive approach. And whenever you talk about, guys that are looking to take that next step, it's understanding this from a holistic perspective of it's not just about the wins and losses on the field that occur between Friday from 7 to 9 o'clock. It's about Monday through Thursday and all of those things that it takes to put that production together on the field. So that's always my thing whenever, I look at assistants that are thinking they're up next or are up next, because those aspects are what separate guys from being great assistants into being great head coaches.
I think also, before you can be a great leader, you have to be a great follower. You have to be able to take instruction. You have to be able to follow instruction, whether you agree with it or not. I think another key trait is, can you take the talent you have and find a system that reinforces the talent that you have? A lot of coaches get locked into, I'm a running game guy, I'm a spread guy, I'm a this guy, I'm a that guy. You need to be the guy that can put players in a position to be successful. And then, I came up the old way, started at JV, then as position coach on varsity, and then as a coordinator. I think there has to be some type of process in learning different systems and having different responsibilities, coaching different positions. If all you've ever coached is quarterbacks, then that's going to limit your opportunities. You need to be able to coach, positions on both sides of the ball, because as a head coach, you don't know where you might be deficient when you go out to find your own staff. So you're going to have to be able to coach the positions where you can't find a good assistant to coach that position. Two other people I'd like to add to your list, Grice. Chachi Sullivan from Huff does an outstanding job. Huff is in the conversation year after year, and that's partly because of the job he does as a coordinator and putting those kids in a position to be successful. The second one that probably not many people in this area have heard about is Darren Shepard at Hickory Ridge.
Hey, my guy.
He's the defensive coordinator at Hickory Ridge. He's worked in Gaston County. I think he was at Highland Tech as a head coach. And then he was an assistant on the Shelby staff. He's worked on both sides of the ball. I had an opportunity to work with him my year coaching football at Hickory Ridge. Very knowledgeable, hardworking, can coach more than one position, has been around more than one head coach. So he understands, about putting players in a position to be successful. I think he's an up and comer as far as assistant coaches are concerned.
I think it's also imperative to look at a coach's personal commitment to ongoing learning and professional development, formally and informally. Do you embrace opportunities to be a lifelong learner? And that is in a formal context and in an informal context, so as to model the virtue of lifelong learning for your student athletes. Learning takes the form of, obviously, whether it be an advanced degree, whether it be another credential, maybe in the strength, we're talking football coaches, in the strength and conditioning realm, whether it be in the personnel management realm, all things that transcend X's and O's and show your ability to manage people, which is a transferable skill from one diaspora to another. Do you embrace lifelong learning so as to model education-based athletics foundational tenet of lifelong learning for your coaches and for your student athletes? And as Gary and Jonathan have said in their commentaries and given exemplars of that, that's another facet in which Cardinal Gibbons' Nick Drew shines beautifully. So the embracing of lifelong learning so as to model that for your student athletes and your assistant coaches.
That's a great conversation. Again, one we could spend time with for hours, but let me get out of the way. Gloom and doom time.
And here we are once again. It's more gloom and doom. I guess it is a little bit of gloom and doom this week because the high school football season is over. But hey, good times. We're going to have a good time still. First up, summer fruit. Which one has to go? Watermelon, honeydew melon, cantaloupe, or peaches? Now, Kenzie, you got graduation season coming around, so some nice, good fruit for graduation parties and all that good stuff. Which fruit won't be there?
Well, none of these fruits will be there. We will be having cake. But I think honeydew melon has to go because I have no clue what that is. So
looks like we got some dissension in the ranks, Dale.
I can't get rid of any of these. This is hard. These are all awesome fruits. How do you get rid of one? So, man, if you got to get rid of one, I don't know. It would be between cantaloupe and honeydew melon, but I'd have to flip a coin. I'll just be honest with you. I'll flip a coin, cantaloupe. I don't know.
Gary, I know you're waiting for this one.
It's a tough one, like Dale says, and my wife eats fruit like it's going out of style. So in the summer, we keep all kind of fruit in the house. But if I had to pick one, and it's no particular reason, it's honeydew melon. We have that less than we have the others. That's the only reason I say that. But like Dale said, they're all good to me, especially if they're cold. I like my fruit cold. I don't like warm room temperature fruit. I like
especially the melons, especially the cantaloupe, the honeydew, and the watermelon. Those are all excellent cold. Did you skip the first one, Alex?
Well, we'll come back to it. We'll come back around to that one. I'm gonna make this one simple. The honeydew melon has to go because we're implying that honeydew melon is a summer fruit only. That honeydew list is all year long. That's not just a summer thing. Yeah. So implying it's a summer thing, no, honeydew's got to go. It can go as a summer fruit, but for those of you out there who are married, I've heard that it's in all year long, so we can take it off. We can take it off the fruit list.
Good answer, Alex. Good answer.
All right, your most annoying sports figure: Kyrie Irving, Tim Tebow, Aaron Rodgers, Draymond Green, or Luka Doncic. Gary, start us off.
Wow. All of these guys have been in the news in the last 2 weeks. Kyrie, outstanding player, but does some of the most, or says some of the most off the wall things. He's walking around the arena burning sage before the game. Tim Tebow can't decide what sport or what athlete he wants to be. Aaron Rodgers is, he's always deflecting and being a little condescending towards management. Great player. Draymond Green, a legend in his own mind. The leader of the triple single club, as Charles Barkley likes to say. And then Luka is the whiningest player in the NBA. He's kind of like Rasheed Wallace. I mean, he's always getting texts. Great player. But here's what differentiates the one I'm choosing. Tim Tebow. He can't play. He can't play football. He can't play baseball. He can't play. Okay? The other ones you can put up with because they're great at what they do. Okay? So I'm going to say Tim Tebow because he can't play. The rest of them can play.
Kenzie.
Well, first of all, let's just get this out of the. Oh, sorry, Griner. You go ahead.
No, wait. Oh, you could have gone. I didn't want to interrupt you.
You go ahead, Griner.
I gotta jump Gary for the Tim Tebow comment. I normally agree with Gary on almost everything he says, except this. All right, Tim Tebow is the greatest college football player of all time.
But he's not in college anymore.
He's not the greatest of college football.
He's the greatest college football. He holds records. He holds. Don't even shake your head, Dale. He holds touchdown records in the SEC. He has the highest completion percentage in the SEC history. He's got all these different things coming. Can't throw. I watched every game. I'm a Tebow fan. Denver did him dirty because they look. He's a weapon when he's facing the defense. Let me just break this down for you, okay? And then I'll go.
Everybody faces the defense.
No, they did not. Tim Tebow for 3 quarters turned his back to the defense because he was under center 3 quarters of the game. He is not a precision thrower like Peyton Manning and play action pass type guy. He's a guy that's threatening the defense with the zone read, which allows the defense has to play with an extra guy in the box, which allows him to not make as much a precision throw on the outside, and he's able to make those one-on-one throws. Because
he's out of college.
I'm talking about in the fourth quarter. How did he come back? Because he was in shotgun, no huddle, and he was able to do that. He had to threaten the defense.
10 years ago, Sam.
I'm just saying, how can it be most annoying? Kyrie Irving's the most annoying. Let's get out of here. All right, I'm out.
I'd like to apologize to all our viewers out there for that unanticipated intermission right there. Now that we have had, I don't even know what that was. We'll just move along. Kenzie, sorry about that, Kenzie.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about Tim Tebow coming back to the league, I mean, he did learn from a killer tight end. So, I mean, what you going to do? Guy comes back. If you don't, you guys don't get it. But he may wear number 81. I think he may kill it. So maybe 2 people. We don't know. But Aaron Rodgers is a local legend. I mean, guy's an absolute – he's fantastic. I mean, his humor is one of a kind. Luka Doncic, I don't know how to say his last name. How could you not like that guy? Such a lovable guy, kind of like a big teddy bear. Kyrie Irving, he's strange. We'll take that. He's a little weird, a little out there, maybe a little hippie-like, but it's okay. Draymond Green's just absolutely stupid. We'll just be reading and he'll say something. I'm like, bro, I haven't heard your name in 5 years unless you're in controversy. Be quiet. So, Draymond Green's got to go.
Dale.
Okay, so just push everybody else out. All those were great. Tebow. I'm tired of Tebow, and He can't play quarterback in the NFL. He can't play baseball. He can't play. And now he should have, if he was going to play tight end, he should have done that his first time in. When they told him, you can't play quarterback, you should be a tight end. Gary, I'm with you 100%. It's Tebow for me. Just it annoys me. I don't care how good he was in college. Quite honestly, I didn't like him in college, but okay, he did this, he did that. But this is the NFL we're talking about now. And you know what? He ain't an NFL player. We'll see if he can play tight end, but I'm not seeing it.
Tim Tebow is not the most annoying sports figure on this list for a very simple reason why. As Gary reminded us, does he actually play anything?
Good point.
Is Indy hosting a show the guy doesn't play anything?
So he's automatic.
Frankly, he reminds me of Anna Kournikova. Did she even play tennis when it was all said and done? Come on now. So Tim Tebow cannot be the most annoying sports figure because he doesn't play anything.
He's not a sports figure. Exactly.
He's not a sports figure. Aaron Rodgers, wait a minute, isn't that the guy who was a guest host on Jeopardy? Oh, whatever, man.
Do not disrespect Aaron like that. Get out of here.
He was the guest host on Jeopardy. This whole list reminds me of what Michael Jordan said after Phil Jackson retired as coach of the Chicago Bulls, and everyone knew who his successor was going to be. And Mike was asked, so what do you think about the possibility of playing for a college coach? And Mike responded, Pink Floyd? I thought he was a musician. Most of these people on this list, at least Tim Tebow and Aaron Rodgers, I mean, great player. We all know that. But, I mean, we're celebrating them now for not being sports figures. Let's move on here. So, I mean, Draymond, just play the game and stay out of ridiculous controversy. So, I mean, he is kind of annoying right now, but he can play. So let's go Draymond here. All right. Which summer Olympic sport has to go? Swimming, gymnastics, track and field, basketball, boxing, or volleyball? Gary.
Ooh, I love the Summer Olympics, and I'm so glad that it's going to start like 2 days after the NBA Finals, so you don't have that gap in sports over the summer in July. But wow, I like I said, I love watching the Summer Olympics. I'm gonna flip a coin between swimming and gymnastics. Only watch them every 4 years. I love track and field. Of course, being a former basketball coach, I love basketball. Boxing is very controversial in the Olympics because of the judging. And I love the volleyball in the Olympics, especially the beach volleyball. So I'm going to say swimming.
Dale.
Wow. So swimming is like the Summer Olympic event, in my opinion. It's hard for me to swimming and gymnastics are very, I think, strenuous. Track and field, basketball, volleyball, I like all of them. I think boxing is maybe it's just a personal thing. I'm getting a little more against the brutal stuff, unless in boxing we can put Tim Tebow faces on the boxers. Then they can go at it and we can keep it. But if we can't put the Tim Tebow faces in, boxing's going to have to go.
Kenzie.
Well, so see, I'm a former track lead. It's actually where I first met Coach Greiner. He wouldn't give me candy. He tried to make me throw it with my left hand, and then he still wouldn't give it to me after I did it. So that's got to stay, obviously. I think swimming, gymnastics, and volleyball all have to stay just because I think that's where they get the most things, the most highlights. And I think that's their time to shine. These guys are incredible athletes, obviously. I mean, Michael Phelps is one of the greatest athletes in the world, Simone Biles, all those in volleyball players. So for me, it comes down to boxing and basketball. But I think basketball has to go because, first of all, the U.S. just dominates every year. When you send LeBron James out there, like, it's just not fair. So I think basketball has to go for the sake of the other countries.
Kenzie, I know this was a few years ago, but we can ask Charlotte's own Bobby Jones about whether basketball needs to go in that 1972 fiasco. We could bring him on the show. I think he'd have a few things to say about that. But boxing's got to go. And here's the reason boxing has to go. All right, first off, we all know professional boxing gets fixed and staged. So if you're going to have a show, at least make it something that's digestible to watch. We can get good laughs over a staged press conference where Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis are going to act up in a staged press conference to get people to watch the fight. We all know that was staged. We can get people excited if Riddick Bowe and Larry Donald are going to be at a press conference and Riddick Bowe is going to sucker punch Larry Donald with the 1-2 and give a promoter's dream. Yeah, we can get excited about stuff like that. It's sad it takes that, but we can get excited. But we all know that it's staged. Professional boxing is staged. How else do you explain Don King and a few other things? We don't have any of that in Olympic boxing. Professional boxing, however terrible it is, however fake it is, however staged it is, however fixed it is, however fabricated it is, at least it's a good show. And I'm not talking about some of the people who butchered the Star Spangled Banner before some of these so-called huge fights. We don't have any of that in boxing in the Olympics, so there's no show whatsoever. How many people remember how great Teofilo Stevenson and Felix Savone were as amateurs? A lot of people probably don't even remember who they were, and that's sad from a boxing tradition perspective. But it doesn't draw any people in because there's no show. So boxing's got to go. And our last question tonight. Apparently, we're presupposing that there will be a Charlotte-Mecklenburg school representing the 4A classification in a unified state football final last year. Who's it going to be? We got Chambers, Huff, Myers Park, Mallard Creek, Butler, Ardrey Hale, somebody else. Who you got, Dale?
Who will it be? So instead of who's going to go, it's who we're going to keep, right?
Yeah, who's it going to be?
Yeah, so I think out of the group here, and I think the only early pick I could make out of this, or actually out of any in 4A right now, would be Chambers. It's hard for me to pick with the controversy that I think is brewing at Myers Park, and I just don't see Mallard Creek is there anymore. Butler's a potential. You know, for me, it would be between Butler and Butler, Chambers, and Huff. So I'm keeping Chambers.
Kenzie.
For me, it's going to be between Chambers and Huff. I think it's a tough one because I think it could go either way. I think they both had some really young teams this year, and they played really well. But, you know, I think you always got to go with the champion in these situations, you know. They won it all, so, you know, you expect great things from them next year. So I got to go with Chambers winning it all.
Gary, I know you're waiting for this one.
This is a tough one. It really is a tough one. you know, I look at Chambers and I'm thinking, okay, they got to replace the quarterback. They may have to replace some coaches, even though they're so deep. I mean, they're kids just waiting for their opportunity over there, and they got the best running back, looks like, in the state. So that may, you know, alleviate the importance of a first-year quarterback. Huff, they got a great quarterback coming back, and they seem to be in a reload mode. Myers Park, they got the quarterback coming back, and running backs. They got a lot of kids coming back. I think it's going to depend on who they hire as the head coach. Mallet Creek, new culture. We'll see. Did it take this spring? And will they get back? Butler, always good, but they're losing their offensive coordinator. And you don't know if Tripp may get a job, or he may even go with McFadden. You don't know that as of yet. But the culture at Butler is always championship culture. And hey, like Rick Flair said, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And right now, the man is Chambers High School. So I'm going to say Chambers with the – can we call it a three-peat since they're changing the name?
Absolutely.
All right.
Three-peat at 76.
I guess we'll go with the three-peat in Chambers High School. That's
Three-peat at 7600 IBM Drive. I'm going to make this nice and simple right here. Who will be the Charlotte 4A representative in the state football championship next year?
Chambers.
Charlotte Catholic. Next.
Wow. Put that target on their back. I promise you, like, this is the one thing Catholic won't be able to overcome this year. I'm a big Catholic guy, but I look at their roster when I went to their game, it's a totally different. They are very fundamentally sound. Like Larry Kennedy said earlier, but it's different dudes running around over there with the Vances and the Huffs and stuff. I think Huff's got a good shot too.
Hey, Grinder, that door closed. You know what time it is. Let's go.
All right, let me get a swig of this ice cold sun drop.
Hey, sun drop. We need a second. Coach first. Coach, my sun drop. Come on.
What's up with the hate on my boy Tebow? I mean, what did he do? He didn't do nothing.
Not like Griner. He was a great college player.
That's okay. Is he ever got on social media saying I deserve to play? I did anything?
How many NFL quarterbacks out there have won playoff games? I know he has. I mean, there's a lot of good ones who haven't.
Yeah, for people to say he cannot play like Gary and Dale, God, you got to be just lunatic-ish. Now he's older. I don't know if he can play now. I'm just saying.
That's the point. That's the point we're talking about now.
Hey,
that is the point.
They could cut him if he don't make the team.
He might not be able to play what he was, but he's a guy that I'd want on my team. If I'm a head coach, I want Tim Tebow on my team.
Yeah, but we've got to understand the ramifications of how this looks. I mean, you're bringing in a guy that Jacksonville market's going to love. It looks cheesy, and especially when we talk about a college coach coming in for his first NFL job. It looks cheesy. It looks cheesy.
Dude, they got the Trevor Lawrence. They got all these. They got enough hype around it. They don't need to sell tickets. It's not a ticket.
Well, my point is exactly keep him away. You got a rookie quarterback.
He has.
Need to stay focused on the main thing. We don't need to focus on it. Again, I don't hate Tebow. I don't hate Tebow. He's just too old.
Breaking you down. You're messing with my Tebow. I'm breaking you down today. Let's go.
All right, guys. Coach versus coach. Who's going first today?
Grinder, this is all jacked up on Tebow.
You get the first jab today. Okay, where do you feel where will you feel the safest once North Carolina returns to 100% capacity? A church, a college, or a pro game? The movies, the restaurants, concerts. What's it going to be, Grinder?
100% church because of the Holy Spirit protecting you, brother. All right.
Like what kind of question, Langston? Like this is I feel like the game show. I feel like I'm the kid, and you give Griner the question. He answered A, and he's playing four corners. Of course, church. Like, how am I going to come on here? How am I going to come on here and go, hey, no, I don't feel safe at church. This is ridiculous.
I see you just said it. Sad Tebow haters, man. I'm telling you.
I'm not a hater of Tebow.
Now,
you're not going to call me a Tebow hater.
The one thing I miss a whole lot, because I've been going to church anyways, but it's different to have full capacity because you can see people's emotions and the feeling is different. But like I miss the movies. Like I know it's fun to watch it. It's just something different about getting the popcorn, cuddling with your daughters on the couch because you know they got that separation now. It's not like you're side by side. You pick out the section you're going to be in. And I kind of miss that. So hopefully we can get back to that.
Oh, it's concerts for me. I mean, every genre I will concert like I haven't concerted before. Like where it goes from R&B to Snow Allegra, bring me a nice young lady to listen to some great R&B tunes. Tame Impala, listen to some nice, psychedelic rock and just enjoy just the mood and just everything going on to a rap concert where I may not feel the safest. But again, that's not COVID related. But I miss concerts. I love live music. I just love the expression of yourself through musicianship, and I just think that is the piece that I realize that I need back in my life, and I'm ready for that to happen as soon as things go back open.
All right, guys. I was trying to get my daughter to come on, but she will not do it. All right. Anyway, let's go to question number 2. Nope, there we go. Should the NCHSA require all athletes to be vaccinated before participating in the school season next year? Grice, you're up.
I mean, this is another unfair question. I'm not that guy. And again, I answered this question very similarly to how I'm going to answer it again. I don't think that there should be a requirement for vaccination in any context, in any environment. I think, again, that's keeping our fundamental freedoms of choice. I do think for public safety reasons, it's smart for adults to do that, but I'm not just going to be a person that's going to tell people how to parent their kids. I do like the guidance that has changed, which is important going forward, that states for fully vaccinated individuals that if you are around or in close contact with someone who does have COVID, you're not required to quarantine for that 14-day period as long as you're not experiencing symptoms. That is a good motivating factor to ensure that you are vaccinated. And that's something I think from a football perspective that I can get behind. And kudos to, I don't know what level, if that was the NFHS or even down lower at our state association that made that decision. So I'm excited about that. I think that's a great way, great move going forward and something to help us to get to some level of normalcy. So I will not answer that question that way due to personal reasons, but that piece I will say I would like.
Well, I'm not agree with you on this. I'm 100% of it. I agree 100% with you, Grice, because here's the deal. There's no chance I'm getting vaccinated. There is zero. I'm talking about absolutely zero chance I get vaccinated. They can say, hey, you're not going back on this game show. I'm like, well, I'm sorry. And that's fine. I ain't taking that mark of the beast that Dale got. Ain't no way. See how much he hates on Tebow? It's effective.
So that's a symptom. Chris, go ahead.
All right. Sorry.
Lord.
All right. Well, I think that one pretty much sums that one up. Let's go ahead and move to the next question here, Coach versus Coach. Griner, you'll be up again on this one. Thoughts on how best to handle the charter and the Catholic schools in the NCHSAA? Griner, you get it first.
I mean, I think the way that they're doing it now is very acceptable. I mean, think about it. Catholic's doing a great job, but they are doing a great job of coaching. They don't have the caliber kids that you think that they have. They have guys that just really understand the system. They buy into the culture, and they do a really good job. Now they're going to go into 4A. Their success is bumped them to 4A. Now we're going to see if they can sustain that success in that bigger division where there's a lot more guys they got to go against. Now you're going to see the talent is going to be so great that can they overcome it. Now, I think they'll still win football games. They'll be very competitive. They'll win conferences. But winning the state championship now in the 4A when it's changed, that'll be a little bit different. Now, the charter schools, do everything you can. There's not. What are you going to do? Charlotte schools, get kids in there that played at other schools. Kids are literally announcing, hey, I will attend such and such high school. I'm transferring. I'm like, how in the world you ain't in college? You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to play where your dad gonna live at, but you know, there's no pride right now. I want people to have pride where they're gonna stay. There's no handling the thoughts of, you know, how they're supposed to do it. They're doing it the right way. It's just a lot of people break the rules.
No, I'm with you 100%. Another part where we talk about young guys and understanding the youth football landscape and all that, but that's another conversation. I think the biggest thing is people are hypocritical with their criticism of charter and Catholic schools. You know, when they're doing well, when they're experiencing success, I think it's an issue. But, you know, you have people that, like, for example, Mountain Island Charter didn't have the banner year that they normally have. I noticed that the criticism that people normally levy at them was lessened this year. That's hypocrisy to me. If you have a problem with it, you know, in the years that they're doing good, even if they were to have a down year or any program to have a down year, that criticism still needs to stay there. I think that the way we have it is fine. Again, as Griner alluded to, you have programs already right now that, you know, are almost operating in a freedom of school choice mindset, it seems. And so to single out a certain group of schools, I don't think would be fair and equitable. And again, I mean, Catholics coming back to 4A, I mean, I think that's the appropriate level for them. And I think that NCHSAA utilizing a little bit, and Chris can, you know, the group can correct me if I'm wrong, but utilizing a little bit of school, you know, success in athletics as a, you know, a metric for providing what level you play at was a great idea. And I think can kind of levy the field a little bit. So, you know, Catholics back there, they're still going to be successful, maybe not at the elite level, but I mean, we know that they're going to experience the same success they did, was it 4 or 5 years ago when they were in the SOMET conference. So, you know, I think that they're handling them fine. We continue to operate. But, I mean, again, if the situation gets out of control, we monitor it and go from there.
Guys, I do want to kind of bring this up. You know, it was announced, I read it in the Charlotte Observer, by the way, that Legion Collegiate down in Rock Hill, South Carolina school, had been in the South Carolina High School League, which is the sister of the NCHSAA. That they announced that they were going to jump state lines, leave the South Carolina High School League for the NCISAA, the Independent Schools Association, in which the private schools such as Providence Day and Christian play in. If and I'm not saying that other schools should do this, but you know, I would say that if I'm a charter school in the Charlotte area, maybe a Mountain Island Charter, maybe a Pine Lake Prep, do you think that you would keep an eye on them moving and seeing how another charter has now joined the Independent Association? Do you think that's something that you would do if you were a charter, or maybe even another private like a Catholic? Although I'm not saying Catholic should, because Catholic and Gibbons have been exemplary members of the NCHSAA for many, many, many decades. But would you, as another charter, maybe keep an eye on Legion and see how that transition from them going to North Carolina's independent league looks, and maybe they decide to go in? Because you know what? Maybe if you're a charter in some of these public leagues where it's just not going well for you on the scoreboards, maybe think of a future in that independent league. And I'll throw it out to either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I mean, I think for Legion, especially being new, that was a great thing that they did. I mean, I think they, received some criticism with some of the newer age, I guess, things that they were doing that are different than some of the member schools down in South Carolina. So, I think that for them to align with schools that are along similar tracks academically and even athletically, I think that was a great decision. If I'm one of the, other schools, like you mentioned, like a Pine Lake Prep or others like that, I mean, I think it's something you keep an eye on. I mean, you watch to see how that goes, maybe how, they are treated, I guess, coming into the conference. And it's something you consider going forward. We talked about already with the consolidation of the 8 kind of subdivided, regions or championships into 4. Now you bring that situation to say, hey, maybe I can be more competitive over there. That allows for my school to be more successful and to bring in more to help our school grow.
All right. I hear the conversation. There are whole lawmakers that want the NCHSA to look at charter schools. They feel like there's an inherent advantage. I know we talk about the big schools here, but there's an inherent advantage they feel like for the small 1A school when they're facing a charter school that can recruit within the 25-mile radius. I mean, like in Charlotte, you can recruit 4 or 5 different counties in the 25-mile radius. And then the Catholic schools, they feel like recruit. Alex, you are working at a charter school now. You used to work at a parochial school. What are your thoughts on this issue?
The first thing that needs to happen, and this is something that transcends all kinds of schools, quote unquote, traditional public, whatever that means now, parochial, non-boarding schools, charter schools. What I'm about to say transcends all of those things. I'm confused as to why people persist in overlooking the reality that these are matters of choice in many cases. Why is it such an issue that students who come from families who have the means and obviously often multi-generational legacies, who have helped proliferate the culture of success in the classroom, in athletics competition, and in fine arts, among so many other things that build exemplary citizens, at a place like Myers Park, which has a very storied and community-bound tradition and legacy, often spanning multiple generations. The same can be said at Broughton in Raleigh, or New Hanover in Wilmington, or Terry Sanford in Fayetteville, or R.J. Reynolds in Winston-Salem, or I'm sure I'm missing somebody there. The same thing can be said at West Charlotte. The same thing can be said at Dudley in Greensboro. The same thing can be said at E.E. Smith in Fayetteville.
But Alex, do those schools have an advantage? Do the Catholic schools and the charter schools have an advantage over the people they play against?
I'm confused as to what the advantage is, because the point I'm making about these community-bound, storied, tradition-rich legacies which have evolved out of choice in traditional public schools, in the Catholic schools, for whom I can show you on some of the state championship teams at Cardinal Gibbons, you see kids who raise a banner. I have pictures of some of these kids when they made their first communion together.
Okay, so hold that thought. Grice, if you're playing against one of these parochial schools and you see Charlotte Catholic win 13 straight swimming championships, you see Charlotte Catholic win 4 straight football championships, you see Charlotte Catholic just yesterday win 3 straight golf championships, you see Cardinal Gibbons doing the same thing, and you look on the NCHSA website and you see they've won more than 100 state championships in the past 15 years. This is the argument that these lawmakers and the people who are against the Catholic and parochials make. Chris is not in his head. How does that strike you? I hear what Alex is saying, and I do believe that. But how does that strike you?
Oh, I mean, I definitely think there's an issue with competitive balance, but I think the one thing kind of, defraying a lot of that is, you're not talking about the big money schools as much. I mean, you do hear it with football, but you're seeing actionable change happen. Catholic is moving back to 4A after their short stint, within 3A. So, I think that's one of the things that is kind of getting them off without, major change. Again, had they kept them in 3A within football and they continued to string a lot of that, those runs that they've had with golf and swimming and other sports there, I think you would have major actionable change that's happening. So no, I'm in complete agreement. I think something they need to continue to be monitored, especially in sports like that. Maybe sport specific changes need to be made. So it is frustrating. I think that you get it from a side of hey, we understand that these are the rules, and maybe the school doesn't look like they have all of these these edges or advantages that they do. But at the end of the day, you look at their program, you look at what they're doing. They are allowed to do things that other schools aren't. And when you're in that kind of situation, there's no choice but no choice but you're opening yourself up to criticism.
All right, Chris. Hold on. Chris is nodding his head. I want to hear from the guru.
Well, no, I agree with a lot of the different points, but I just have to think back to what Larry Kennedy was saying a few minutes ago about the recruiting or lack thereof at Catholic, looking at the guys who grew up in that church. And it takes me back to a conversation that I had with the great Rick Strunk of the NCHSA a few years ago. And we were talking about this topic specifically, and Cardinal Gibbons, to be more exact. And, a few years ago when they went to the 4A and they were put in the Cap 7 with Millbrook, who had phenomenal female sports at the time, and Gibbons, who is just exceptionally talented at women's volleyball for one of them. I mean, heck, they're good in everything, but they're good in volleyball. And some of the coaches at Millbrook and within the Cap 7 was complaining about Gibbons' ability to go out and recruit some of these girls who were ultra talented, and some of them went off to some of the best colleges for volleyball. And they asked Rick, he said, how are they, what's their recruiting budget? I mean, what are they doing to get these girls every year in, year out? And Rick, who used to also do eligibility in addition to his roles with the media as a deputy commissioner, said, well, whatever their recruiting budget is, it must be phenomenal, because they identified these young girls at 2 years old, because that's when they are 5 years old, because that's when they enrolled into the Catholic schools and have been there forever. And so, you know, it kind of goes back to what Alex said. You know, it's yes, you've got great athletes, but so many of these kids grew up in these churches, grew up in these schools. They didn't come from other parts of the country and go there. They just showed up. I mean, sure, are there cases where a school maybe got someone in? Sure, but it goes back to what I've said for years about Tommy Knotts and the run that he had at West Charlotte and Independence. Did Tommy Knotts go out and recruit those kids, or did his success bring them in? I think that's really more of what the equation is at Catholic and Cardinal Gibbons. They're just so good, and I know that I, as a parent, I want to take my kids to where they've got the best chance of succeeding, and that's just what I think it is today. Kids want to go there.
So the first thing I wanted to make a comment about was Catholic going 3A, 4A, 3A. That's ADM based. But Catholic, if you look at Catholic and you look at Charlotte Catholic's roster, and then you go look at Charlotte Catholic's roster 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25, 30 years ago, you're going to see the same family names over and over and over. If you go look at Holy Trinity, you're going to see those same family names and those same people right there at Holy Trinity. If you could go look at Catholic Church rosters, as Chris was saying, you'll see these same names at being christened. You'll see them at 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of age. Probably 95% of the athletic population at Charlotte Catholic has come up completely through their system. So to think that Elijah Hood's father played at Charlotte Catholic. I see Elijah Hood was typed in there. So Elijah Hood's father played at Charlotte Catholic. So yeah, Elijah Hood's a great example to bring up. There's a family name that was there prior. He's not one of the 5% that's not there. That's a family name that's been around Charlotte Catholic forever. The charter schools, and this is another one that people are getting on, the charter schools, you have to lottery to get into them. I had a good conversation with the principal at Mountain Island Charter about this specifically 2 years ago, about more charter schools coming in, and two, what did it take to get into a charter school? Could you get your kids into a charter school? If I had a great athlete, what would it take to get that athlete to come play at the charter school? Now, according to them, those lotteries are all blind, and they don't make those choices. So, and you can see Mountain Island's talent is not gone up, and they're winning. They were down this past year. So I think if a school plays per the rules the NCHSAA lays out, they should be fine, and there should be no concerns. But people have these concerns. But then, you know what? We're not raising concern about, we can pick 3 schools in Charlotte that are football powers. Mm-hmm. And it may not be recruiting by the coaches, but we all know that there's a lot of recruiting going on.
That goes back to Chris's point. I mean, there's plenty of families that say, I want to get away from this place. I want to go to that place. And there's apartments everywhere.
But we're bringing in people from other states.
Move into that district, or I get a board transfer.
Right. But we're bringing in people from other states to play, specifically to play football for these schools. It's
not going to stop.
It's not going to stop because they will legally pass every
They will find every little loophole and gray area there is because parents love their kids and everybody wants to win. Now, when you get over with all those great athletes and you're not playing, that's another story. But Sam, if you could have everybody in West Charlotte on your team right now from 6th grade to high school, how much better would you be?
We would be very dominant. we would win a lot of 3A state championships that we're going into, because you have, you know.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. Why is Weddington good right now?
Weddington
they have a good middle school football program.
They have a great
all the kids up to Weddington.
And the same kids go to their high school.
Why was Richmond County good back in the day before the Mills program? Why was A.L. Brown good back in the day?
Same thing.
That's all I have to say about Charlotte Catholic. I've covered Charlotte Catholic for 30 years. In the 80s, when I started and Catholic was awful, didn't hear a word about them. In the 90s, when Catholic was not good, didn't hear a word about them. In 99, when they started putting middle school football in the Holy Trinity, and then they started winning in 01, and then they won a state championship in 04, that's when I started hearing about Charlotte Catholic.
You're 100% correct, Langston. I think, you know, a lot of people trying to dodge the question a little bit.
I'm not dodging. I'm telling
you. I'm talking about everybody else in a way where they don't want to say that they have an advantage, but they have a little bit of advantage. It doesn't mean that they're going to be dominant in 4A. Like Catholic's going to be dominant in 4A. I think they'll be really good. But, yeah, it's a huge advantage to have your – like if I knew a middle school – that fed directly into West Charlotte, no matter what, no questions asked. That's the feeder, and I'm going to do with that coach.
We agree.
And you can take that crazy defense you run and tell that guy to run it.
Exactly, and then teach it to them and do everything I can to let them understand. Because by the time they get to be ninth graders, all of a sudden your JV team is successful because they're not teaching them for a whole year.
Yeah, hold on, I don't mean to interrupt you for getting heavy, but I want to ask Chris. We were at the game. You saw Catholic in person. How many dudes on Catholic did you go, wow, that guy could play for anybody in North Carolina?
Not a one. But I will say the one thing I did notice, and I brought it up to you and other guys as well, there's very, very few. I think maybe less than 3 or 4 guys on that roster who was less than 165 pounds. It shows that, one, they've been working in the weight room. Oh, yeah. They've done what they've got to do. And I want to agree with what Griner was about to say. Because, you know, I've coached those young JV level kids. When you get a kid and a group of players come up from the middle school and all of a sudden you trust me, there's some JV players come up that don't know nothing about football. They don't know how to get in a 3-point stance. And when you don't have to spend hours in them first weeks of practice and maybe the first 2 or 3 games making sure a kid knows how to line up or a kid knows how to get in the huddle and they show up knowing what to do and they know your terminology, the absorption rate and being able to add new stuff every day is so much greater, and that's when teams get really good.
Yeah. So today, DJ McFadden retired Independence, and he was going to come on the show, but he couldn't make it tonight, so we're going to have him on hopefully later on. But there's another job that everybody's kind of paying attention to, which is the Myers Park job, and I wanted to give Dale a chance to talk about what he hears going on over at Myers Park.
Yeah, to me, this is a sad situation that we have a coach that I think we all have agreed has done one of the best jobs of a coach this year. We have a coach that won the Southwestern 4A Coach of the Year award, rightly so, a coach that took a team that was projected within that own conference to finish third and won the conference, took the team to the state regionals finals, and yet that job is open, and that program is actively recruiting coaches to come in. So for me, I think that's sad. I think it's there's just a lot of things I could say that I won't say, but I believe that's a bad situation right now to have that kind of control. You know, we're talking about Catholic and the things they're doing in charter schools and the things they're doing. And I think the ethics at those places are a lot higher than what I'm seeing take place here. And I'm seeing external forces that are all driven not for the goal of the better person or the better individual, but of let's do what we can to win a state championship. Let's do what we can to win a state championship and whatever we can do. That bothers me. And it bothers me that I'm seeing that from a school like Myers Park. So I don't know, Langston. I don't want to go out to chopping limbs.
Don't get yourself in too much trouble. I have to protect you like Sam. We got to kind of pull you back.
Exactly.
Like Sam. Gotta save it.
Y'all, I really wear a leash on this show. It's like
we don't.
We got Sam every now and again. Like last week you got yourself in trouble. I didn't say anything. I let you go, and you got yourself in trouble.
I said something.
Well, hey, I'm not afraid to say it. They should keep Mark Carmen. I mean, if they let go a great teacher and coach like that, then shame on them. And I've said it about other.
Yeah. Well, we talked about What do we ask the Chris? I know Chris would know, the historian. How many coaches have been replaced after being the coach of the year in their respective conference? And I know we talked about the one.
Wasn't Joe Evans coach of the year?
But I'll say this, and I don't owe nothing to the administration at Myers Park, and I don't know anything to Mark Harmon. I consider him a friend, but he's not somebody that I hang out with or whatever. But I know for a fact he was at the conference coaches meeting a couple weeks ago, and a couple coaches within the league came up to him and said, "Hey, are they even going to make you apply for your job again?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like, "Man, your job's posted on the site." And he said, "You're kidding me." And he went home and found out and realized that his job was posted. And he said it was administration and not spoke to him. Now, I don't want to do third party hearsay, but if that is true, then just shame on them.
But here's the problem with that too, is that there are time limits to when you can apply. And if you haven't had your own administration to tell you, "Hey, look, even though we're going to hire you, you've got to apply." So he finds out, actually, from the story that I have heard from several coaches, is that it happened at the Southwestern 4A coaches meeting is when he found out about it.
Wow.
Why do you find out about something like that from another coach outside of your, outside of your school? That's just there's wrong. A lot of wrong going on there.
I almost feel like we're giving people the future Patreon away, Grace. We like giving them like what we talk about.
Man. Hey, this is a little taste.
Right. This is kind of what we talk about after the show, on the show. All right, we got one show left. Miss Kinsey, you have one show left.
I'm coming back though. We're going back for visits.
We're coming back for visits. All right. But next week, we're going to let the guru talk about the Sweet 16, the champions, and we're also going to reveal the super team. How are we coming on the super team, Coach?
Good.
Chris been watching film, and I'm gonna dump on you and Grice a big thing of nominations about that big tomorrow, and we're gonna go grab, hopefully virtually or in person. Maybe Chris can't be there in person, but virtually do something and try to pick this team. It should be fun next week, and we'll be back for the last show. Hope everybody watches. I'm Langston. That's Grice. That's Chris. That's Sam. That's Alex. That's Miss Kinsey. That's Gary, and that's Dale. All those opinions heard in the last 3 minutes are courtesy of Dale Ross. I have nothing to do with it. We'll catch you next Tuesday.
Say more.
Y'all didn't catch that till late. We'll catch you next Tuesday, 8 o'clock on Talking Press.